Assalamu alaikum everyone. We're about to start the session very shortly. Welcome everyone. This is part 2 of Tafsir on Surah Yusuf. It's nice to see you all. Some familiar faces, some faces for the first time, so welcome. Very honoured to be hosting this with Kismet Café. Thank you to the Jama. Everyone's give her a big round of applause. I've not seen anyone work so hard. And it's in collaboration with Being a Golden Spiral. It's an education institute that just got launched a couple of weeks ago. It's a non-profit, and it's basically there to help you reconnect with yourself through the intersection of philosophy, art, psychology, and spirituality. Okay, and if you want to know more, there's a QR code there, and there's also some QR codes on the table as well. So about the speaker tonight, so Dr. Abdul Latif Finch is a teacher of Islamic sciences and philosophy, whose work focuses on personal transformation, spiritual psychology, and the relationship between classical Islamic thought and contemporary questions of identity and meaning. He graduated from Zaytuna College's Seminary program in Islamic sciences, completed a master's in philosophy at the Dominican School of Philosophy in Berkeley, and later completed his PhD in Islamic philosophy at the University of Exeter, where he also taught during his studies. He continued with his postdoc at University of Harvard and currently doing a postdoc at SOAS. So his teaching brings together traditional scholarship and contemporary experience, helping audiences reconnect intellectual understanding with spiritual growth. Okay, all right. I will hand over.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah. اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد الفاتح لما أغلق والخاتم لما سبق ناصر الحق بالحق والهادي إلى صراطك المستقيم وعلى آله حق قدره ومقداره العظيم. Alhamdulillah. Assalamu alaikum. Peace be upon you. Okay, so if you were here yesterday, then you know everything up to this point. If you weren't here yesterday, oh well. No, but yeah, there's a lot in Surah Yusuf, to the extent that I think today what I'm going to do, following my intuition, I suppose, is I'm not going to rush. If we end up, there actually might be a part 3, or well, let's see how it goes. I don't want to rush through it. There's so much to understand. And it's not about quantity as much as it is about quality, I think. But we'll try our best to get through it. Inshallah. So where we ended up is there's a situation with Zulaykha and now her friends. Actually, no. Let me start. Go back just one step and then start from here. Again, what we're looking at now is we're looking at the tafsir of one of the luminaries of the contemporary age, Sheikh Ibrahim Niyas. May Allah be pleased with him. His tafsir is called Fi Riyad al-Tafsir, or In the Gardens of Qur'anic Interpretation, and it is a tafsir that I've had the pleasure of reading cover to cover. Over a 3-year period with some students. We read it together. It took about 3 years. We read it, I think, every Friday for a while. So I'm really pleased and happy to read it. Second thing is that I'm reading it in the way that it's been transcribed. So the Shaykh, what he would do is he would, during Ramadan, he would do tafsir of Qur'an. And he was such a polymath in the Islamic sciences, I mean. He was so well learned that he used to have the tafsir Jalalain, as I said yesterday, and he would keep it next to himself, or he would hold it in hand. This tafsir is a very common tafsir throughout the Muslim world, especially in West Africa. He would read this tafsir. He would do the tafsir from memory, and then when time was running out, he would then refer to the Jalalain itself. So when you're reading in the what we're reading now is literally a transcription of some tapes taped recordings that happened in the previous century, the 20th century, because he died in 1975. Allah have mercy on him. He died in London, actually, which is quite interesting. He died in the St. Thomas Hospital. So he was a Senegalese sheikh of great renown. By the time even before he passed away, he had literally millions of students in West Africa. Quite a giant. So we read yesterday his tafsir up to the point of Yusuf being in the prison, or about to go to prison. And there are many insights that we had and we spoke together. So if you're not quite sure what some people might be talking about, what I want to do at some point, if we can, towards the end, again, is open up for questions and sort of comment section also. I think that's important, inshallah. Okay? All right. Bismillah. So, Yusuf's in a bad situation because he has been accosted by a set of Zulaykha and her people, and he would rather go to prison than have to deal with this. And I think one of the later insights that we got was that the Sheikh Ibrahim was saying that Yusuf he wasn't perfect yet. He had not reached his perfection in his travel to Allah. Even though he was a prophet, he's still traveling, he had not reached the perfection yet. If he had, what he would have done is made dua. He chose the lesser of two evils. He was like, I'd rather be in prison than have to deal with this situation. So Allah gave him prison. Sheikh Ibrahim said he should have made dua for something else, some third option, and ask Allah to make it good. And I think that was one of the last insights that we had yesterday, collectively. This idea that Sheikh Ibrahim was also saying that when you make dua with confidence. You can't make God feel bad so that He'll then answer you. God's not compelled by anyone, but rather be confident about what you want, ask with conviction, and then ask Allah to make it good. That was his position, and he used the situation with Surah Yusuf for that, and that's how we end up here at this point. So the Shaykh continues, and as I said yesterday, also I'm literally just going to read it because I'm trying to reenact what he did in Ramadan, and then we'll have our commentary on top, inshallah. Then it became clear to them, meaning the authorities, after they had seen the signs proving Yusuf's innocence, that they should imprison him for a time. So even though he was innocent, they felt like they should put him in prison. Why? They said there was no choice but to put him in prison until the talk dies down. In other words, for his own security and for the security of the realm, we should go ahead and put him there. So he was imprisoned. Yet, the prison was transformed into torment for Zulaykha. I think we mentioned this before. She began going out and sitting on the roof of her house, gazing toward the prison night and day out of the intensity of her love for Yusuf. So the prison was here, her house is here. She ended up becoming a prisoner of her own love for Yusuf. Yusuf is in prison, chilling, if you will. Well, she herself, she's actually in prison because all she can think about is Yusuf. So she began going out and sitting on the roof of her house, gazing toward the prison night and day out of the intensity of her love for Yusuf. Yusuf was at ease, while Zulaykha was in anguish. It was as though the prison had been transferred to her. Now she's the prisoner. Two young men entered the prison with him, both servants of the king. One was his cupbearer, and the other was in charge of his food. They both saw dreams and said, "Let us test him." One of them, the cupbearer, said, "I saw myself pressing wine," meaning grapes. The other, the keeper of the food, said, "I saw myself carrying bread on my head, and the birds were eating from it. Tell us its interpretation, for we see that you are among the virtuous." Yusuf said to them, "No meal provided to you in your dream will come to you except that I will tell you its interpretation while you are awake before it comes. In this there was an encouragement for them to believe. Then he strengthened this by saying, I have left the religion of a people who do not believe in God and who disbelieve in the hereafter, and I follow the religion of my fathers, Ibrahim, Ishaq, and Yaqub. It is not fitting for us to associate anything with God. The affirmation of divine oneness is from God's grace upon us and upon mankind, but most people do not give thanks. Instead, being unbelievers, they do not thank God, and so they fall into associating partners with Him. Now, I don't know if you know. I don't know how it is in the UK, but in America, it's quite common for people to become Muslims in prison. It's a phenomenon. So many people have come into Islam while in prison, and I don't remember. I think in this surah, Shaykh Ibrahim does mention something interesting about. He does actually. We'll get there. He mentions something interesting about prison, and he says that because of the circumstances of Yusuf, which we'll read, the news of the world, the true and actual news of the outside world actually is spread in prisons first, which is actually interesting. In other words, if you want to know what's going on outside, ask people in prison. They actually seem to know. I thought that's interesting. So then so now, in other words, the tradition of calling people to Allah, calling people to Islam in prisons is there in Surah Yusuf. Then he openly called them to faith, saying, O my two companions in prison, are many different lords better, or God, the one, the all-subduing? What you worship besides Him are nothing but names you and your fathers have invented for idols. God has sent down no authority for them. Judgment belongs to God alone. He has commanded that you worship none but Him. That is the straight religion. But most people do not know what they are heading toward. He continues, O my two companions in prison, as for one of you, meaning the cupbearer, he will leave after 3 days and pour wine for his master as before. But as for the other, the keeper of the food, he too will leave after 3 days, but he will be crucified. And birds will eat from his head. The matter about which you seek judgment has already been decided. So the keeper of the king's food, it is said, had been bribed by a man who wanted the kingdom for himself. He was given some gold in order to put poison into the food, so that when the king died, that man would take over the kingship and reward him. The cupbearer learned of this. When the king was about to eat the poisoned food, the cupbearer warned him, saying, Do not eat of this food, for there is poison in it. Then the keeper of the food said to him, And your drink has poison in it as well. The cupbearer denied it. So the king said to the cupbearer, Drink, and he drank. Then he said to the keeper of the food, Eat, but he refused. Thus the innocence of the cupbearer became clear. Even so, the king sent both of them to prison along with Yusuf. That's how they got there. When the two men saw their dreams and told Yusuf of them, he interpreted them, saying that the cupbearer would be released and restored to his former position, while the keeper of the food would be released only to be killed. They said to him, We did not really see anything. We were only testing you. They took it back. They're like, No, we didn't have any dreams. Yusuf replied, The matter about which you sought judgment has been settled. Then he said to the one he knew would be saved, Name me. Yeah. Then he said to the one that he knew that would be saved, this is an important part now. Mention me to your master. Tell him that in the prison there's a young man imprisoned unjustly. Okay. So when the cupbearer left, Jibreel came to Yusuf. Remember, he's a prophet. And said, You are Yusuf, the son of Yaqub, the son of Ishaq, the son of Ibrahim. Ibrahim was cast into the fire. And we angels asked him whether he had any need. He said, As for you, no. But as for God, yes. That's your grandfather. We said to him, Ask God to leave you from this And he replied, his knowledge of my state is enough in place of my asking. This is your grandfather, Ishaq, who was brought to the point of sacrifice until God ransomed him with a ram. If you guys know the story of Ishaq. His response when he knew that he was about to be slaughtered was he told his father, do what you got to do. He laid his neck down. He said, do what you have to do. He said, verily I am with the patient ones. Now, interesting point. He said, I am with those who are patient. Musa, when he was tested, he said, you will find me patient. When Musa was tested by Khidr, he said, you will find me patient. But when Ishaq was tried, he said, you will find me amongst the patient ones. In other words, there's barakah with the jama'ah. There's barakah with the jama'ah, being with the patient ones. By being with the patient ones, by associating with the patient, there's the barakah in that. And as a result of that, he was saved from his trial, whereas Musa was still learning. So this is your grandfather Ishaq, who was brought to the point of sacrifice until Allah ransomed him with a ram. And this is Yaqub, upon whom what befell him did not indeed befall, yet he did not seek help for any creature. And you, after only a few days in prison, seek help from a creature. Though you are the son of Yaqub, the son of Ishaq, and the son of Ibrahim, thus Gabriel reproached him. It was said to him, to Jibreel, to Yusuf, you will remain in prison for the number of letters in the phrase, Udkhurni inda rabbik. Now, do you see, remember before, there's this trend that God has with the elite. And I think I was saying, it's like when you love someone, when you're close to someone, you have expectations from them that you don't have from other people. You expect a kind of a proximity or a loyalty to you that you don't expect from other people. You don't just get to get close to God and then hang out and kick it and just do what you want. That's not the way Allah is. That's not the way anyone is. So you will remain in prison for the number of letters in the phrase Udkhurni inda rabbik, mention me to your master, which is in Arabic that's 12 letters. 12 years. So he remained in prison 12 years, and Satan made him forget the remembrance of his Lord, so he remained in prison for several years, as it says in the Qur'an. Then the king of Egypt, Rayyan ibn al-Walid, said, I see in a dream 7 fat cows being eaten by 7 lean ones, and 7 green ears of grain, and 7 others dry, twisted around the green ones and overtopping them. O chiefs, explain my dream to me if you can interpret dreams. They said, these are confused dreams. We do not know the interpretation of such dreams. In other words, they couldn't just say, we don't know. They just said, oh, well, it's obviously just whatever. Then the one who had been saved of the 2 young men, the cupbearer, remembered after a long interval and said, I will tell you its interpretation, so send me. He was sent and came to Yusuf and said, Yusuf, O truthful one, explain to us the meaning of 7 fat cows, eaten by 7 lean ones, and 7 green ears of grain and others dry, so that I may return to the people, to the king and his company, so that they may know. Do you remember yesterday we were talking about the number 7? We said there are 7 doors that were closed. Now we're seeing the repetition of the number 7 again. Were you here yesterday? I was talking to you about those 3 shirts. Yusuf said, you will sow for 7 continuous years. This is the meaning of the 7 years of abundance. Whatever you harvest, leave it in its ears so it will not spoil, except for a little from which you eat after threshing it. Then after that will come 7 hard years of drought, which will consume what you stored for them from the grain grown in the fertile years, except for a little that you preserve. Then after that will come a year in which people will be given rain, and in which they will press grapes. When the king's messenger came to him and told him of Yusuf's interpretation, the king said, bring him to me. Bring this interpreter here. But when the messenger came to Yusuf and asked him to leave, Yusuf, wanting his innocence to be made manifest, said, return to your master and ask him about the women who cut their hands. My Lord is fully aware of their scheming. It is reported that Jibreel had said to him, the Lord of the world sends you peace and says, were you not ashamed when you sought help from human beings? By my might, I will keep you in prison for several years. Yusuf replied, is he pleased? I will keep you in prison for several more years. Yusuf replied, is he pleased with me? Jibreel said, yes. Yusuf said, then I do not mind now. So he's traveling. Let me back up. It's reported that Jibreel said to him, the Lord of the world sends you peace and says, were you not ashamed when you sought help from human beings? By my might, I will keep you in prison for several more years. And Yusuf replied, is he pleased with me? Allah. Jibreel said, yes. Yusuf said, then I don't mind now. If he's happy that I be in prison, I will stay. Is it a problem that he's calling on human beings? He's a human being. But the problem is, how do you find yourself with your Lord? Are you happy with whatever he wants to do with you? He said, yes. The king then said to the women, what was your affair when you tried to seduce Yusuf? That is, did you find any inclination in him towards you? They said, God forbid, hashahu. We know of no evil in him. Then the wife of Al-Aziz said, that's Zulaykha, now the truth has come fully to light. I was the one who tried to seduce him, and he is indeed one of the truthful. The messenger of God, peace be upon him, said, the noble son of the noble son of the noble son of the noble son is Yusuf, son of Yaqub, son of Ishaq, son of Ibrahim. And he also said, had I remained, this is what, he said, the Prophet said, peace be upon him, had I remained in prison as long as Yusuf remained, I would have answered the first caller. And this was an expression of humility on his part, peace be upon him, for he is more perfect than Yusuf. And that, as the Qur'an continues, meaning Yusuf's insistence on clearing his name, was so that Al-Aziz might know that I did not betray him in his absence, and that God does not guide the plotting of the treacherous. As for me, I do not declare myself innocent. And this was Yusuf's humility after he had made his innocence clear. He said, I do not absolve myself of error. I can err. I can make mistakes. I am not perfect. But I didn't do that. I don't say that I'm incapable of wrong. I'm saying I didn't do that. So this was Yusuf's humility after he had made his innocence clear. He said, I do not absolve myself of error. Surely the soul constantly commands to evil, or the nafs constantly commands to evil. The generic human soul is characterized by frequently commanding evil unless my Lord has mercy. Surely my Lord is forgiving and merciful. And Shaykh Ibrahim is going to go into this for a second here. But what's beautiful about this particular verse, or this aspect of the story, is that Yusuf, alayhi salam, the humility that he's speaking about, he doesn't even have a soul that can do that. His soul does not command towards evil. Prophets don't have that kind of soul. If you remember yesterday, we said that there are 7 different types of nufus. There are 7 different selves. It goes from Nafs al-Amara, he's going to mention all of this here today. It goes to Nafs al-Kamila. Yusuf is starting, so if we have 7, Yusuf's starting at number 2. So he's speaking about a nafs that he doesn't even have. The humility. Earlier Yusuf said, if you do not turn their plotting away from me, I may incline toward them. And now he says, I do not declare myself innocent. Because the self indeed commands evil. It is called Amara because it commands so often. If the self commands evil once, it is a commander. If it does so repeatedly, it is Amara. And that is the self's original quality. All of us who are non-profits, we're a non-profit organization, we have, this is the beauty of this, we have a nafs that commands to evil. We're not born evil, we're not born in sin, it's a different thing. But ourselves, once you start to know, once you know the difference between yourself and others, mate, give me that. No share. That when that aspect of you starts to form, that self, that base there is a self that commands towards evil. Nafs al-ammara bisu. And that's what he's saying. This is our baseline. This is us. This was humility on Yusuf's part, even though he knew that his own nafs was not included in this blame. That is why it would not have been proper for him to say, myself is surely one that commands evil. Rather, he said, I do not declare myself innocent, while the self surely commands evil. He didn't say myself. He said the self. This refers generally and does not refer specifically to Yusuf's own self. The self, by origin, commands evil unless divine care comes to it from God Most High. And this is the meaning of, except those upon whom my Lord has mercy. Just a comment here. What that means is that even though outwardly we are told and trained to do certain activities to grow and to become closer to Allah and to sort of to incline towards Him with sincerity and obedience, etc., you cannot do that unless Allah shows mercy on you first. It's not possible. So when someone starts to get a little bit of that mercy and they start to incline, then shaitan, do you know what he does? When shaitan can see the mercy of Allah shining on you, you start getting courage. You're like, I prayed Fajr today. Yo, I prayed. I'll read a little bit of Qur'an, I'll read some Qur'an. Here comes Dhuhr. I prayed Dhuhr today. Okay, the rest of the day was a little weird, but I got it. Then you got the next day, and you're like, oh man, I got Fajr, I got Dhuhr, and I think I'm going to go for Asr. I'm going to go for it. When a person starts to perform like that, they start to feel good. What's the thing that happens to you? Man, you might have prayed, but you weren't praying right. You don't know how to pray right. Yeah, but what were you praying for, though, bro? God knows what you did. God knows you, bro. Why are you even trying? Why are you trying? What are you even doing? Or another person, they're not even trying to do better. They're just bad. They're just bad. But they feel bad about being bad. And then shaitan comes to them also and says, you're so bad, bro. Why are you even, don't even, you know what? Just commit. Just leave Islam. Just leave it. Who even knows this is true? You want to gamble? You want to have girlfriends, hang out, do your thing? Just leave, man. In both situations, what's happening? In both situations, what's happening? Shaitan is having you preoccupied with yourself. In both instances, shaitan has you talking about you to you. Yeah, man, you're doing... Oh, I messed it up. Another scenario is like this. Yeah, man, you're doing so good. You're so pious. If people only knew your value, man, they would ask you to make dua. You're amazing. You're so close to God. These people, they just knew. You're so awesome, man. I mean, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I do have some good characteristics. I mean, the whole time, what's happening is that shaitan has you busy with yourself. You're busy with yourself being pious. You're busy with yourself being sort of like a fake it till you make it. And you're busy with yourself just giving into the fact that you're a loser. Every time, he has you busy with you. And that's exactly what he wants to do. He wants to make you so busy with yourself until you forget God completely and just leave altogether. That's Shaitan's MO. How do you know when Shaitan is messing with you? Because you don't, no matter what stage you're in, you don't say Allah, 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 Allah. You say me, me, me. I'm a bad person. Say Allah. I'm a good person. Say Allah. I'm so troubled. Say Allah. That's all you have to do. Allah, Allah, Allah. If we had more time, I would make us do Allah. I'd say Allah, Allah together. That's it. Just Allah. Just say Allah. Except those upon whom my Lord has mercy. There is no greater mercy than being able to say Allah's name. I was born in a Christian family. This is a true story. I've said this story many times. When I was about 6 or 7 years old, I turned to my dad. I remember this like it was yesterday. We're driving in the car. It was like a hot summer day in Atlanta, Georgia. And it must have been like the early 80s. So I looked at my dad and I said, Dad, or Daddy, something. I'm sure I said Daddy. Yeah. So, Daddy, he said yes. I said, what's God's name? I never seen my dad look like that before. He went completely blank. He said, some call him Jehovah. Some call him Jesus. And I realized, I was like, you don't know. I'm this like 6, 7-year-old kid, and I realized, oh my God, my dad doesn't know God's name. We're in trouble. And I said to myself, I was like, I know my name. I know your name. What do you mean we don't know God's name? That, may Allah have mercy on him, may Allah have mercy on all of us, but that's just not something that was there. When you have Allah's name, is it not a mercy to even know the name of your Lord? Look how we take it for granted. And we think that Allah doesn't like us. How can you possibly think Allah doesn't like you when you know La ilaha illallah, Muhammadur Rasulullah? How can you possibly think that? Well, no, I was born into it. Exactly. You were born into it. How can you possibly think Allah doesn't like you? If there's someone that I don't like, I'm not going to tell them my name. Can I have your name, your personal information, where do you live? No. Except those upon whom my Lord has mercy. And Allah has certainly had mercy upon us. And may Allah continue to have mercy on us. So when mercy descends from the divine presence and pours over the soul or the self, it moves from the self that commands evil to the blaming soul. Now Shaykh Ibrahim is going straight into it. When mercy descends from the divine presence, Allah, and pours over the self, the self moves from the self that commands evil to the blaming soul. It starts to say, man, why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? Instead of do this, do that. So God Most High swore by that self, the blaming self, which reproaches its owner whenever evil comes from him. If another outpouring of God's mercy reaches it, it becomes the inspired self, mulhama, the inspired self. He mentions he inspired it with its wickedness and its God-fearingness. Ayah. It becomes a self inspired towards good, though it is not yet fully established. If the streams of mercy continue to come upon it, it becomes the tranquil self in the presence of Allah Most High, turning neither out toward anything else nor towards otherness itself. That's, in other words, in that stage, the self, yourself, myself, literally finds peace in God's presence. We don't want to look anywhere else. It becomes a self inspired toward good, though it is not yet fully established. If the streams of mercy continue to come upon it, it becomes tranquil in the presence of God Most High, turning neither toward anything else nor toward otherness itself, other than God. Then it becomes worthy of the divine address, O tranquil self, O tranquil soul, return to your Lord, pleased and pleasing. Now, before we continue here, understand that this is not some kind of foreign entity. This is what you and I already know. And forgive me for give me a few moments on this point. If you look at every tradition in the world, wherever in the world, whenever in the world, however in the world, wherever in the world you look at any point in time, you will always find human beings who are always preoccupied with permanence. Human beings are preoccupied with permanence. We don't want good. We want good forever. We don't want baklava with our tea after we break fast. We want that sweet taste of baklava in our... Where's Ali? My man loves baklava. I saw him with a tray of it. That sweetness and that goodness that we taste, we want that to last forever. Safety forever. Comfort forever. That's how we are. The truth is, we want permanence. That's what we want. If you and I just say for a second, if you and I agree with the materialists and say there's nothing in this world except for, this chair, the table, life, death, when you die, there's nothing left. If we can all agree upon that, agree to that, then what we would have to say is that in order for you and I to continue to believe in this permanence that we're looking for, we'd have to locate it in the world. Are you with me? You'd have to find somewhere in the world where permanence is, like water. Well, there's water over here, right? There's grapes over here. There's Isa over there. Like a physical thing. You know what? I don't believe in none of that hocus pocus God stuff, bro. I'm a realist. I just believe in hard facts. Okay. Let's believe in hard facts. You want permanence. You believe in permanence. Everyone believes in permanence. But tell me, what is permanent in this world? What's permanent in this world? What can you find that is permanent? You can say, well, physically, where is permanence? And the answer is, it's nowhere when you think about it. So then the question becomes this: where did you and I get the idea for permanence? We have no proof of it in the external world, such that we should even talk about it, much less make our entire life about it. I don't want to be rich for a day. I want to be rich forever, baby. We must have experienced permanence somewhere else. We must have seen permanence somewhere else. We must have been in the vision of permanence somewhere else. We must have seen what is, what was, what will always be. That must have happened in order for us to have this fascination and this desire and need to get back to what we always knew, which is called God. So the soul that is looking for, we're all looking for God. Not just the Musliman, not just the Muslims. We're all looking for God. We're looking for God in everything. We're looking for permanence in everything. When you have a friend, you want permanent friendship. When that friendship ends or goes bad, you feel bad. But the only one who's permanent is Allah. The only thing you love is Allah. The only thing you know is Allah. The only thing you want is Allah. The only thing you think about is Allah. That's it. It is not some weird like voodoo conversation that we're having here. The soul just forgot and just wants to get back home. But we get trapped. We forget. We think that we're going to find. We're lazy. We're basically lazy. We're lazy. We are trying to create paradise and permanence in this realm. That's why everything is like wireless. You know? I remember back in the 80s, we had this thing called like the clapper. I don't know. You plug it in. If you want to turn your lights off, you just go, and the lights will go off. It was like kun fayakun is the best thing ever. I thought that was big time. But now, what do you want? Like, anything, anywhere, anytime. Instant, immediate. Don't tell me people don't know paradise and don't believe in it. Don't tell me that. Then why are you trying to recreate it now? The reason why you're like this is because you want it now. You have no patience. You remember Allah. You just don't want to be His slave. Not you, but like, you. So that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about the travel back to what we already know. And that's what he's talking about. The Shaykh is talking about this. So when it returns to the presence of God Most High, it becomes content with every unfolding of His decrees. As long as I have you, I don't care what happens. When it is content, it becomes one with whom God is pleased. God is the true king, and the human being is a servant as long as the servant objects to his master in his acts. He has not yet been pleased with God, and God is not pleased with him. But if he is content with all that issues from the divine decrees, his self becomes a self that is content, and then it becomes pleasing to God Most High. In other words, God, I don't know what you did. I don't know what that was about, but you know how to run this universe. I'm going to let you go ahead and do that. I'm cool with you. I'm happy. Then it becomes complete. These are the 7 stations. The self that commands evil, the blaming self, the inspired self, the tranquil self, the content self, and the soul with which God is pleased, and the complete self. The path of those other than the prophets begins with the self that commands evil and continues until perfection. The path of the prophets begins with the tranquil self and continues to perfection. He continues with the tafsir. Surely the self commands evil. Also points back to the earlier verse. Thus we made for every prophet an enemy from the devils of humankind and jinn. According to one interpretation, the human self itself is the devil among human beings, while the other devil is Iblis and his helpers. Since the soul commands evil, it is the most dangerous enemy of the human being. May Allah help us. May Allah save us from ourselves. Yet within the human being, there are also the heart, the intellect, and the spirit. And their order is as follows. The spirit is the sovereign, the intellect is the minister, and the heart is the mufti. If these 3 are united, they overcome the self that commands evil, because they're a jama'ah, right? And nothing comes forth except good. But if the self intervenes and separates one of the 3 from the others and gains mastery over it, then it overcomes the next and then overcomes them all. The old divide and conquer. You might have read British colonial history. A story is told that 3 bulls once lived in a fertile thicket. One yellow, one black, and one white. A lion came every night wanting to kill one of them, but whenever he attacked, they would unite against him and drive him off. One day the lion met privately with the yellow bull and said, he got him by himself, right? You are my brother, of my own kind. Our hides are alike. This thicket contains everything we could desire, but all are afraid because of this white bull. As long as he is among us, we can enjoy nothing. If you would leave him to me and let me kill him, our life here could be pleasant. The yellow bull accepted. Sounds like a good deal. That night when the lion came for the white bull, his 2 companions withdrew and left him, and the lion devoured him. The next day the lion returned to the yellow bull and said, you and I are one thing. But what bond is there between us and this black bull? He's black. The same problem we found in the white bull is present in him as well. Life will not be pleasant for us until this black bull dies. The yellow bull said, leave him and eat him. So the next day the lion came for the black bull, and the yellow bull did not come to help. The lion killed and ate him. Then after some time the lion came to the yellow bull and said, "Who will stop me today?" The bull said, "Honor the agreement that was between us." The lion replied, "What agreement can be between a lion and a bull? You know what this is." The bull said, "Do you really have to kill me?" The lion said, "I must." Then the bull said, "Then let me say one word before you kill me. I was eaten the day the white bull was eaten." And then the lion killed him. He realized. This is an example of the self in relation to the heart, the intellect, and the spirit. If those three are united, they overcome the self. But if they become heedless, the self enters among them, separates them, kills the heart, then kills the intellect, then dominates the spirit, and no one remains to resist it. Surely, he says, again repeating the ayah, surely the soul commands evil, except those upon whom my Lord has mercy. Mercy, surely my Lord is forgiving, merciful. Then he continues with Yusuf. Then the king said, "Bring him to me, I will draw him close to myself." When the king came to Yusuf's interpretation of the dream, he said, "Bring me this man who interpreted the dream, that I may reserve him for myself, alone, without partner." And this is the custom of kings. Whenever something desirable appears and people compete over it, the king wants to possess it exclusively. So the messenger came to Yusuf and said, "Answer the king." Yusuf rose, bathed, put on fine garments, gathered the prisoners, bid them farewell, and prayed for them, saying, "O God, incline the hearts of the righteous toward the prisoners and make news reach them." Remember what I told you before? "O God, incline the hearts of the righteous towards the prisoners and make news reach them." He said that is why it is said every piece of news that occurs in the world reaches prisoners before it spreads among the people. This is through Yusuf's prayer. He also wrote, "This is the graveyard of the living and the mockery of enemies," about the prison. Then he went out and entered upon the king. When the king spoke with him, he said, "Today you are established in our presence and entrusted." Yusuf entered upon him at the age of 30, speaking 72 languages. Not bad. He spoke to the king in Hebrew, and the king said, "What language is this?" Yusuf said, "This is the language of my father." Then he spoke to him in Arabic, and the king asked, "What language is this?" He said, "This is the language of my uncle Ismail." Then he spoke to him in the remaining 70 languages. The king knew 70 languages, but Yusuf surpassed him, despite his youth, by 2 more, Hebrew and Arabic. So the king said to him, "Today you are established in our presence and entrusted. What do you think we should do?" Yusuf said, "Gather food and sow abundantly during these fertile years, and store the grain in its ears. Then people will come to you seeking provisions." The king asked, "And who will manage this for me?" Yusuf said, "Appoint me over the storehouses of the land of Egypt. I am a trustworthy guardian and knowledgeable." The messenger of God, peace be upon him, said, "May God have mercy upon my brother Yusuf. Had he not asked for this rank, he would have been given it that very day. But because he requested it from the king, it was delayed from him for a year." Sometimes the following year he received that position and was given full authority. Yusuf gathered the people of the land and commanded them to sow during the years of abundance. And also, it's a point that what you see in Surah Yusuf is you actually see people having to brace their himma, their zeal, and what they want, and their sense of justice. They have to brace that against Allah's divine decree, against God's will. God will do what God will do when God will do it. And if you try to rush that, you're only going to harm yourself. You're only going to frustrate yourself. I mean, that being said, as we said yesterday, 80 years. Do you remember a dream you had 5 years ago? How are you going to remember a dream you had 80 years ago? So the following year, he received that position and was given full authority. Yusuf gathered the people of the land and commanded them to sow during the years of abundance. They devoted themselves to cultivation, threshing only what they needed to eat, and they stored the grain away in the granaries until it became plentiful in those years. The king handed over all affairs to Yusuf. It is said that he accepted Islam through Yusuf and became no more than a servant to him. Thus the whole affair of Egypt came into Yusuf's hands. And thus we established Yusuf in the land of Egypt, as the Qur'an says. Just as we had shown him favor by delivering him from prison, he settled in wherever he wished after constriction and confinement. So the king crowned him, sealed him with authority, appointed him in the place of Al-Aziz, dismissed the latter, and when he died, married Yusuf to his wife. Yusuf found her a virgin, and she bore him 2 sons. He established justice in Egypt, and the people submitted to him. As the Qur'an says, we grant our mercy to whom we will, and we do not let the reward of the righteous be lost. What is my job? My job is to be Allah's slave. Like, my job is to worship Allah, be His slave. Try to stay away from wrong things. If you make a mistake, repent. Keep your life moving. Don't let shaitan tell you otherwise. You have your dreams, you have your ambitions. If Allah sees fit and if it's best for you, you will see it. No good that is written for you will ever escape you. That's impossible. No good that is written for you will ever escape you. But your responsibility in this world is to be the slave of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's what we're here for. That's what we're made for. Look at our bodies. The first time I saw someone make sujood, there's a story for that, but we don't have time. The first time I saw someone make sujood, I realized that's how you pray. Look at the way our body's shaped. You can't tell me that this forehead is made for, like, what is it made for? Like holding cups? Like, why am I faced this way? Why is my body angled like this? And more importantly, the first time I saw someone make sujood, I actually went into my bedroom and I tried it out myself. I don't know if I told people that before, but I saw that. I went home and immediately tried to make sujood, and I was like, oh, that's awesome. That feels right. Anyway, when his affair had reached this point, he was crowned and sealed with authority, and seated upon a throne of gold 30 cubits long, over which 70 cushions were placed. And Yusuf said, as for the throne, I will sit upon it in order to strengthen your kingdom. And as for the seal, I will use it to strengthen your kingdom as well. But the crown is not from my dress, nor from the dress of my forefathers. Then the famine came upon all the lands. In the first year, Yusuf said, I will sell grain only for dinars and dirhams. So the people sold him all their dinars and dirhams until a single coin remained in Egypt. Not a single coin remained in Egypt except that Yusuf possessed it. In the second year, he said, I will sell only for jewelry and precious stones. So they sold him all their ornaments and gems until nothing of value remained in Egypt except that Yusuf owned it. In the third year, he said, I will sell only for livestock. So they sold him all their animals. In the fourth year, he said, I will sell only for estates and property. So they sold him all their land, houses, and trees, until not a patch of land remained except that Yusuf owned it. In the fifth year, he said, I will sell only for male and female slaves. So they sold him all their slaves, until not a single male or female slave remained, except that Yusuf possessed them. And in the sixth year, he said, I will sell only for your children. So they sold him all their children. In the seventh year, he said, I will sell only for your very persons. So they sold themselves to him entirely. And he came to the king and said, see what God Most High has given me. The king rejoiced at that And then Yusuf said to him, I call you and all the people to witness that I have freed them all and restored their property to them. In other words, he's showing God's power. And the reward of the hereafter is better for those who believe and are God conscious, as the ayah says. The favor God bestowed upon Yusuf in this world will be surpassed by what awaits him in the hereafter. God rewards the doers of good and never lets their reward go to waste. Then Yusuf's brothers came. The famine had entered the land of Canaan and Sham, or Syria, where Yusuf's father and brothers lived, and they were struck by hunger. Yaqub's sons were sent to obtain provisions when they heard that the ruler of Egypt was distributing food for a price. So they heard all the way in Sham and Syria that they can get some food from this ruler. That's how this whole thing starts. So they entered upon him, and he recognized them. So they went to him, they went to Yusuf, and he recognized them while they did not recognize him. He recognized them, but they did not know him because so much time had passed, and they presumed he was dead. He spoke to them in Hebrew. And as if objecting to them, said, What has brought you to my land? Why are you here? They replied, We have come for provisions. We want food. He said, Perhaps you're spies. Maybe you're an agent. They said, God forbid. He asked, Where are you from? They said, From the land of Canaan. Our father is Yaqub, the prophet of God. He asked, Does he have sons besides you? They said, Yes, we were 12. One of us disappeared and perished in the wilderness, and he was the dearest of us to our father. His full brother remained, and our father kept him with him for consolation. Yusuf ordered that they be lodged and honored. He's like, okay, give them rooms. He recognized them either when they identified themselves or from the moment he saw them. But they did not recognize him. They had left him as a small, insignificant boy or as a slave, and now they found him a majestic king behind veils and attendants. He lodged them in houses and said, Each group of brothers should stay together, eat together, and sleep together. But he placed them in a house containing images of Yusuf, one image of when they used to. Let me slow down. It's like he's getting into their heads. This is what they call psychological warfare, or what the young people call psyops. So he lodged them in the houses and said, each group of brothers should stay together, eat together, and sleep together. But he placed them in a house containing images of Yusuf. One image of when they used to beat him, and he would run from one of them to another, only to be struck again. And another image of when he was thrown into the well. The condition in which they had parted from him was depicted in the very house in which they were lodged. So at this particular point now, he is putting their provisions together. When he had given them their measure, that psychological stuff though, is deep. He's like, yeah. When he had given them their measure, he said to them, Bring me your brother from your father, Benjamin. That's his guy. He wanted to bring his full brother into contact with him, so he said, You mentioned that your father has another son besides you. They replied, Yes. He said, The proof of your truthfulness in my eyes is that you bring that one to me. If you do not, then I will know that you are lying, and I will give you no more grain. Do you not see that I give full measure without reduction, and that I am the best of hosts? But if you do not bring him to me, then you shall have no measure from me, nor shall you come near me. They said, We will try to win him from his father, and we will surely do it. Then he said to his servants, Put their merchandise the payment they had brought for the grain, which was in silver coins, back into their saddlebags, so that they may recognize it when they return to their family and unpack their goods. Perhaps they will come back. And their money was slipped into their baggage without their realizing it. When they returned to their father, they said, "Our father, grain will be withheld from us unless you send our brother with us. So send him with us, and we will obtain provisions, and we will surely protect him." He said, "Can I trust you with him any more than I trusted you with his brother before, and you did what you did? Allah is the best guardian, and He is the most merciful of the merciful." So he hoped that God would preserve him. When they opened their packs, they found that their money had been returned to them. They said, "Our father, what more could we want from the generosity of this ruler? Here is our payment returned to us. He has given our money back. We will use it to our advantage, provide food for our family, protect our brother, and gain an extra camel load besides. That is an easy amount to obtain." He said, "I will not send him with you until you give me a solemn pledge before Allah, swearing by him that you will certainly bring him back to me, unless you are completely overpowered by death or by defeat, so that you are unable to do so." They gave him their pledge, and he said, "God is witness over what we say." Then Yaqub said to them, "My sons," interesting point here, "my sons, do not enter Egypt by one gate. Enter by separate gates." Seems kind of insignificant. Why are you telling them which way to go in? And Shaykh Ibrahim explains, that was so that they would not be struck by the evil eye. Yet he added, still, I cannot avail you against God in the least. Judgment belongs to God alone. In him I have placed my trust, and in him let all who trust place their trust. So Yaqub told them to enter, the Shaykh says. Yaqub told them to enter by one gate because it was said there were 11 men, all of striking appearance, the sons of one man, and he feared that they might attract the evil eye. But then he corrected the matter. Such caution in itself means nothing. Nothing harms except God. Exalted is He. The truth is that the servant places his trust in God, for He is the one who truly acts and chooses. Yet the Prophet, peace be upon him, said, the evil eye is real. It may send a man to the grave and a camel to the cooking pot. Whoever looks at a person or a thing with an admiring glance should bless it by saying, "O Allah, bless it. Barakallahu fi." Or by speaking words of admiration together with the blessing so that the evil eye will not harm it. So Shaykh Ibrahim's taking the middle path here. He's like, look, the evil eye is real, but God is greater. So when you see something beautiful or great, just mention Allah, ask Allah to bless it, and then the harm of the eye is removed. The harmful glance is when someone looks with admiration but does not bless it. When someone goes, "That's tight. That's amazing. You see my eyes?" And there's no mention of God. There's no mention of nothing. That's the eye that he's talking about. The harmful glance is when someone looks with admiration but does not bless it, or speaks admiringly without invoking blessings. As for what people say, that some souls are inherently evil and capable of harming others, this has no basis. I don't want to zero in on a certain part of our community, but please listen to this. There are some people that, man, them and the evil eye, they just think everything. This man's very evil, brother. He's very evil. Like everything is some. Listen, this is very, very important. The harmful glance is, what is it? It's when someone looks with admiration but does not bless, or speaks admiringly without invoking blessings. As for what people say, that some people are inherently evil and capable of harming others, this has no basis. The evil eye may come from any person, from any tongue, from any eye. But those who fear it and firmly believe in its power may indeed experience harm. And that harm really comes from fear itself. Okay? Its likeness is this. If a plank of wood is laid on the ground, a person can walk across it without falling, because he has no fear. But if it's raised high in the air and he tries to walk across it, he falls because he's afraid. It is fear that makes him fall. In the same way, people speak of someone who drinks blood. He's talking about vampires right now. It's funny. In the same way, people speak of someone who drinks blood. Yet you find that those who complain of such things are usually, he's not attacking them. He's saying, you'll find some women, some children, because of some kind of frailty in them. They believe it will harm them. They fear it, and so they experience harm. Sometimes jinn may hide behind human beings and afflict a person through them, and people then say, so-and-so harmed me. Whereas in reality, it was a jinn that struck them. So this is the reason why this is in this ayah is in the surah. It's part of our tradition. So when they entered as their father had instructed them, coming in by separate gates, it did not avail them against God in any way. It was only a need in Yaqub's self that he fulfilled, the desire to ward off the evil eye out of fatherly concern. Truly he possessed knowledge because of what we had taught him, but most people do not know the inspiration God grants to his chosen ones. When they entered upon Yusuf, he drew his brother close to himself and said, I'm your brother, so do not grieve over what they have done. Yusuf had instructed him not to tell the others, and when they came back and brought Benjamin, Yusuf said that all sons of one mother should stay together by themselves. And when the meal was brought, Benjamin wept. He cried. Yusuf asked, what's the matter with him? They said, he's crying because each of us eats with his full brother. But his full brother perished in the wilderness. And Yusuf said to him, come and eat with me. Aww. Would you not like to eat with me? He said, anyone would want to eat. Benjamin said, anyone would want to eat with you? You're the king. Anyone would want to eat with you, but you are not the son of Yaqub and Rachel. And Yusuf replied, still, come eat with me. Then at supper, Benjamin wept again. They said, this is the same one who cried this morning. And Yusuf asked, why is he crying? And they replied, because he lost his full brother. Yusuf said, come and spend the night with me. When bedtime came and each set of full brothers was assigned to a room together, Benjamin wept once more. And Yusuf said, come stay with me. Come stay with me tonight. So Benjamin slept with him, and Yusuf then asked him about Yaqub, about their conditions after Yusuf's disappearance, and about Benjamin himself, including whether he had any children. And Benjamin said, yes, I have sons. And Yusuf asked their names, and he replied, one is named Yusuf, and one is named Blood, and one is named Wolf. And Yusuf asked, what is this? And he answered, when I mention blood, I remember Yusuf. And when I mention the wolf, I remember Yusuf. And then Yusuf said to him, I am Yusuf. He told him to keep it hidden from the rest of their brothers. Can you imagine how much he loved him? And Benjamin said, I will never leave you. I am not going back. I don't care. I'm not going anywhere. And Yusuf said, don't do that. He replied, I will never return. And Yusuf said, if our father has been drowning in grief all this time and has found consolation in you, then if you simply remain here, his sorrow will only deepen. But I will devise a plan to keep you on some pretext that will be easier on our father, though it will involve something dishonorable for you. That's what they call a ploy, scheme. He's like, look, I'm gonna make you look crazy, but it's cool. I'm gonna make you look bad. It's interesting how this prophet is acting in this way, in the same way that God is acting with his people. It's interesting. I'm going to make you look crazy, but don't worry about it. Trust me. But I will devise a plan to keep you on some pretext that will be easier on our father, though it will involve something dishonorable for you. I will accuse you of theft in order to detain you. Benjamin said, do whatever you wish. I'm not going anywhere. So when Yusuf had furnished them with their supplies, he placed the drinking cup, a measure of gold inlaid with jewels, from which he used to drink water, valued at 200,000 dinars, and with which he measured out grain for them as a mark of honor, into his brother's saddlebag without their noticing. Then after they departed from Yusuf's assembly, a herald cried out, O caravan, you are surely thieves. They turned back toward them and said, what is it that you're missing, that you accuse us of theft? They answered, we are missing the king's measuring cup, the cup from which the king drinks. Whoever brings it shall receive a camel load of food, and I guarantee it. They said, by God, you know that we did not come to spread fasad, corruption in the land, and we have never been thieves. They said this is because they had become mature, honorable, righteous men, to the point that they even tied up the mouths of their animals, lest they graze on the plants that did not belong to them. They had changed their ways so much that they even made sure that their animals would not graze where they shouldn't graze. We're not like that anymore. We're not thieves. Then the herald and his companion said, what then shall be the penalty for the thief, if you are lying? They replied, its penalty is that whoever is found within it his baggage shall himself be taken as the penalty. So in their law, the thief was enslaved. This is talking about the law of Yusuf, of the Jews of the time. In their law, the thief was enslaved. This was the custom of the family of Yaqub, not the law of the king. Under the king's law, the thief was beaten and made to pay back double what he had stolen. Thus the matter was referred to Yusuf according to their own ruling. So Yusuf began with their bags, inspecting the baggage of the eldest, Reuben. I'm using the English equivalents now. And found nothing. Each time he searched a bag and found nothing, he sought forgiveness from God. He did this before searching his brother's bag, because if he had begun with Benjamin's, it would have looked suspicious. Then at least he brought out the cup from his brother. Then at last he brought out his cup from the brother's luggage. Allah said, as the ayah, thus did we devise for Yusuf. That is, we taught him this means of taking his brother. He could not have taken him as a slave for theft under the law of the king of Egypt, since under that law the thief was only beaten and fined double the value of what was stolen. He was able to take him only because God willed it, inspiring him to ask his brothers and proceed by their father's law. As the ayah says, we raise in rank whom we will, and above every possessor of knowledge is one more knowing, until all knowledge ends with the knowledge of Allah. Then the brother said, if he steals, a brother of his stole, if he steals, a brother of his stole before. Oh yeah, we got some bad apples in the family, right? That is, if Benjamin has stolen, it's no surprise, for Yusuf too was a thief. They told various stories about Yusuf's supposed theft. And who are they talking to? It's a bad look. One was that his maternal grandfather worshipped an idol. So Yusuf stole it and smashed it, and they called him a thief. But the sounder account is that Yusuf's aunt, Yaqub's sister, loved him intensely and would ask Yaqub to send him to stay with her for a few days. She wanted to keep him with her. Their family possessed the shirt of Ibrahim. The shirt. The garment that had come from paradise. The one he wore when he was cast into the fire. And it had been handed down until it came into the possession of Yusuf's aunt, who was then its keeper. She hid the shirt in Yusuf's belongings, fastening it to his waist. and then spread the word that it had been stolen. They searched Yusuf and found it tied to him. She said, Yusuf has stolen my shirt, so he must remain with me as a slave. Thus Yusuf stayed with his aunt through this stratagem. That is why they said Yusuf had once stolen, though he was innocent, and it was only a device used by his aunt to keep him with her. Yusuf kept their remark to himself. It hurt him, but he concealed it and did not show it to them. What he said inwardly was, you are in a worse position than Yusuf and his brother, for you stole your brother away from his father and wronged him, and God knows best the truth of what you described. Then they said, O mighty one, he has an aged father who loves him more than us and finds comfort in him for the son he lost. So take one of us in his place. We truly see that you are one of the doers of good. And Yusuf said, God forbid that we should take anyone except the one with whom we found our property. If we did so, we would truly be unjust. He did not say, except the one who stole our property, because he knew his brother was innocent of theft. Instead, he said, only the one with whom we found our property, so as not to speak falsely. When they despaired of moving him, they withdrew privately to confer among themselves. Their elder, either Reuben or Judah, by judgment said, do you not know that your father took from you a solemn pledge before God, and before this you failed with Yusuf, as the Qur'an says? And when they withdrew and began speaking together, some said, let us just go. The man stole and has been taken. But Reuben said, do not say that. Do not forget the covenant and pledge you gave to our father. And before this you failed concerning Yusuf until he was lost. So I will not leave this land, the land of Egypt, until my father gives me permission to return, or God judges in my favor by freeing my brother. He is the best of judges. Then he said, go back to your father and say, our father, your son has stolen. We testify only to what we know. We ourselves saw the cup in his baggage, and we could not guard against the unseen. When we gave you our pledges, we had no knowledge that he would steal. Ask the town where we were, meaning Egypt, and the caravan with which we came, people from Canaan, and we are certainly telling the truth. So they returned to Yaqub and said this to him. He replied, no. Your egos, yourselves, have made something seem fair to you, and so you have done it. He suspected them because of what had happened before with Yusuf. Then he said, so patience is most fitting. I hope that God will bring them all back to me together, Yusuf, Benjamin, and Reuben as well. Truly he is knowing the wise. Then he turned away from them and said, Oh my grief for Yusuf. So his old sorrow was stirred up by the new one. The new grief revived the old grief. So he wept for Yusuf rather than for the two absent sons of the moment, and his eyes turned white from sorrow. His blackness vanished and was replaced by whiteness because of the intensity of his weeping. He was inwardly crushed, full of grief and anguish. It is said that his sorrow equaled the sorrow of 70 bereaved mothers. So when the Arabs say 70, they mean a lot. You find this in the hadith. When the Arabs say 70, they don't mean the number 70. They mean, oh. They said, by God, you never cease remembering Yusuf until you waste away or perish. They still feel some kind of way. He said to them, I complain only of my anguish and sorrow to Allah, not to anyone else. For He alone is the one to whom complaint is of use. And I know from God what you do not know. He relied on Yusuf's dream, knowing that it was true. And Yusuf could not die until they had all bowed before him, as we said yesterday. Then he said, my sons, go and search for Yusuf and his brother. And do not despair of the mercy of God. None despairs of the mercy of God except the unbelieving people. So they set out again for Egypt. And when they entered upon Yusuf, they said, O mighty one, hardship has touched us and our family, meaning hunger. And we have come with poor merchandise, goods so inferior that whoever sees them would reject them. So give us full measure and be charitable toward us by overlooking the poor quality of our payment. Truly God rewards the charitable. When they asked for charity, though, they were prophets, and Yusuf knew that charity did not befit them. And this is a very interesting point. Did you know that the brothers of Yusuf, they were all prophets? They're all prophets. That's very interesting. And that could be a whole other sitting. But bear in mind, they're doing all the stuff that they're doing, and they're prophets because God has a plan. He wanted to reveal. So when they asked for charity, though they were prophets, and Yusuf knew that charity did not befit them, his heart softened and mercy overtook him. He wanted to reveal himself to them. So he lifted the screen between himself and them and said, Do you know what you did to Yusuf and his brother when you were ignorant? That is, ignorant of what Yusuf's affair would ultimately come to. Then after recognizing him from his qualities and marks, they said, Are you truly Yusuf? He said, I am Yusuf, and this is my brother. They had recognized from the signs that this must be Yusuf. It had seemed very unlikely to them at first, but when Benjamin was detained, Reuben, who was their eldest, became enraged. And so Yaqub's sons were men of great strength, and it was said that when there was a special force in them, if one of them became angry in a town and gave a shout, pregnant women would miscarry. And Reuben threatened Yusuf, saying, O king, if you do not return my brother to me, I will let out a cry in Egypt that will not leave a single pregnant woman without miscarriage. One of Yaqub's sons, if he intended to do such a thing, could only be stopped if touched by one of his brothers. So Yusuf said to one of his small sons, Go to that man and touch him. Just take hold of his fingers. When Reuben was about to cry out, he's had enough. Reuben was like, oh, yes, okay, you know what? I've had enough. When Reuben was about to cry out, Yusuf's son touched him, and his anger subsided, and he fell silent. He said, O king, this is astonishing. The thing I was determined to do, nothing can stop me from it except one of Yaqub's children. And this is not a son of Yaqub, but your son. So he began to have doubts. Reuben was also a man of wrestling strength, and he said to the king, You must hand my brother over to me, otherwise I will wrestle you to the ground. He moved against Yusuf, but Yusuf rose, seized him, and threw him down. Then Yusuf said, You sons of Canaan think that strength exists only among you? Reuben saw in Yusuf's strength a strength he had not imagined could exist outside the sons of Yaqub. That is why he said to him, Are you Yusuf? And Yusuf replied, I am Yusuf, and this is my brother. It is also related that Yaqub wrote to Yusuf a letter. Amazing. Here's what it says. In the name of God, the most merciful, the compassionate. From Yaqub, Israel of God. Israel, by the way, it means Abdullah. Servant of God, son of Ishaq, the sacrifice of God, son of Ibrahim, the intimate friend of God, to the mighty one of Egypt. As for what follows, right? Amma ba'd. We are a household continually entrusted with affliction. My grandfather was cast into the fire until God made it coolness and peace for him. My father Ishaq was tried with slaughter until God ransomed him with a mighty sacrifice. And I, Yaqub, had a son who was the dearest of my children to me. His brothers took him and said that he perished in the wilderness. Then his younger brother remained with me, and I found comfort in him. Now I am told that you have detained him with you and accused him of theft. We do not steal, nor do we beget thieves. Return my son to me, or else I will call upon God against you. They're all losing their patience now. Return my son to me, or I will call upon God against you with a prayer that will reach the 7th generation of your descendants. You bring my son, or I'm going to curse you until 7 generations from today. I've had enough. I've had a really bad year. When Yusuf read the letter, he wrote back, in the name of Allah, the most merciful, the compassionate, from Yusuf, ruler of Egypt. As for what you have mentioned about the noble qualities of your righteous fathers, God tested them, and they endured patiently, so he granted them victory. Be patient as they were patient. When Yaqub read the reply, he said, this is not the language of kings. This is not the letter of a ruler. This is the speech of prophets. This is Yusuf. This is Yusuf. They said to him, you have lost your mind. Isn't that how it is? You have those people that believe in God so strongly, and they believe in his power and his will so strongly, and people say, you're crazy. You lost your mind. And they just look crazy, and they look crazy until, tabarakallah. Then Yusuf said, God has surely shown favor to us. Whoever is mindful of God and remains patient, God never lets the reward of the doers of good go to waste. They said, by God, God has truly preferred you over us, and we were certainly at fault. He said, there shall be no reproach upon you today. So he singled out today because it is the time when blame would most likely be expected. So if blame is removed today, it is even more removed at any other time. So I'm going to stop here. And the reason why I want to stop here is for several things. First of all, I just want to say, subhanAllah, how much we've covered. So many points, so many things. Yesterday, I wasn't able to sort of hear back from anyone, and we sort of had to rush into the rest of the program. But I don't want to do that today. This is definitely a cliffhanger, because you don't even know what happens next. But I don't want to push past this point, and then we can't really get into it the way that I wanted to get into it. But as a way of starting any questions or any comments, I want to ask you, what do you think? This is my favorite part, by the way. This is the part I love the most, is speaking with you guys and reflecting. And I want to ask you, what have you learned from the story of Yusuf so far? What strikes you? And that's not a rhetorical question. I actually I hope to hear your voices. Yes, sir.
Well, I've learned that Tim Rice didn't really write the lyrics to Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. He took them.
Right. Yeah.
And he took a lot of the story.
Right.
And he added maybe like 1%.
I think you're talking about the play, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a play. What's the name of it again?
It's called Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Yeah.
And it was written. The lyrics were written by Tim Rice.
Okay.
Andrew Lloyd Webber. It was one of the famous first music. But he took the story from the Qur'an, and made it into a musical.
I think this is
The
written.
central tenet of the story is pretty much the same.
Right. I think that play was written in the 70s.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was sort of like that time when biblical stories and like hippies and stuff sort of collided. Yeah. Like Jesus freaks and all that stuff started happening. Yeah. Go ahead.
It's just that in this generation of instant gratifications, how long, when you said 80 years, how patient prophets had to be.
Yeah.
Even with the story of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when in the beginning it took Fateh Makkah and him receiving the Quran, it takes a while, so we have kind of lost that patience. I understand why they say that when we're grieving, why they tell us to read Surah Yusuf, how much it helps to have patience and what it really means.
Right. If you weren't here yesterday, she's referring to yesterday. We read that Sheikh Ibrahim advised people who are grieving to read Surah Yusuf, that it will relieve their huzn, it will relieve their grief. And what I was saying at that time was, what I think she's referring to, is that not only is it because of the barakah of reading the surah, but also because of what actually happened. You can relate to that and see that, it helps you when you read the stories of others who grieve. It makes you not feel so alone. Yeah. So psychologically speaking, and I think she's referring to that. Yeah. And it's not just. It's funny. It's like sometimes you read these stories and you kind of think that, I don't know if this is the right phrase. If it isn't, please forgive me. It's like, sadomasochism. So it's like you kind of get you're like, is God like a sadomasochist? Like what's up with all the pain and anguish? Like what is that? And it's not that. It's that the human being needs to learn and to understand. And sometimes, usually, the sunnah of Allah is that takes time. It takes time. If God wanted to transform someone instantly, of course He can. But imagine if you were transformed instantly from one stage to the other without any kind of like gradual lesson learning. How you would be. I'm not going to reveal my age. I'm of a certain age. I know stuff now that if I had known, if I knew what I know now, it's true. If I was 18 again, boy. But there's no way as an 18-year-old with that kind of there's no way I could house this whatever Now I talk to people that are like 20, 25 years old. They know, they're in this room. I say, listen here, you're my daughter. You listen to me. They're not really my daughter, I'm just being like that. You're my daughter, you listen to me. I know better. I can't imagine I'm that person. I am that person. 100% I'm that person. But it took years to get to this point. If I was 18-year-old and flipped over and one day talking like that, people would think I lost my mind. It takes time. Anything that is good, it takes time. Anything of value takes time, and that's what you're talking about. Like the day of instant gratification. It's almost impossible to understand that. Go on. Yes.
I don't think we've really covered it in detail, but I think something that stood out to me in the Surah Yusuf is that SubhanAllah, He's so forgiving, and it confuses me sometimes.
Okay.
I think that He has every right to be really angry with His brothers for what they did, and I didn't know that they would actually physically hit him and abuse him when he was a kid. I didn't know that. But does the Sheikh cover anything as to how, for people who are not prophets, for just everyday Muslims like us, how do you become that forgiving for someone who hurts you that significantly? Because I think it's almost when you're looking at the surah, you'd say almost mentally kind of in the back of your head, it's easy for him to forgive. SubhanAllah, he's a prophet.
Yeah.
He doesn't struggle with that lower nafs in the way that the rest of us do. So how do you become that forgiving? If the Sheikh covered anything, but if it's in the next part, then I can wait.
So the question ultimately seems to be, we're reading the stories in Surah Yusuf. It's amazing how forgiving He is. At the same token, He's a prophet. So we kind of expect Him to sort of be able to have that kind of, that sort of bandwidth, that sort of capacity to be able to forgive so freely. Does Sheikh Ibrahim mention here at any point how we who are non-prophets, how it is that we can have that same kind of forgiveness? It's not coming to me immediately any particular line, but what I have read from him over a period of time is, I would say something like this. The ultimate object is Allah. The ultimate object of our existence is Allah. Why is that? Because Allah is the one who puts, He puts the liquid in the water. He puts the quenching in the water. When I'm thirsty and I need my thirst to be quenched, I grab the water because I'm not going to grab the computer. But Allah is the one who puts the quenching into the water. So when I drink it, that quenching doesn't come from the water, does it? It can't. Likewise, any harm that comes from another person, it can't come from them directly. They can't create that harm. Whatever harm I perceive from someone else, it can't come from them. Even though I recognize, not denying the fact, this is not some kind of spiritual bypassing. I'm saying ultimately, harm and benefit are from God. And anything that causes any harm, any benefit that causes you to forget that God's the one who benefits you, that's a harm. And any harm that causes you to remember that God is the one who harms, it's Him, that's a benefit. Because you don't forget Him. Right? So I think what the Shaykh calls to in general, like in his corpus, in his life, is this idea of look towards the bottom of things. Look towards the inside of things. Don't just focus on the external, but look at what it means. Right? فَإِنَّمَا تَوَلُّوا فَثَمَّ وَجْهُ اللَّهِ. Wherever they turn, there's the face of Allah. This life is a lesson. Right? This life is a lesson, but sometimes we forget. What's the lesson? The lesson is, Allah, how can I know you? This life is just that. The people that come into my life, or people that come into your life, for example, and they seem to be harmful or they seem to be beneficial or whatever it is, as long as you have made your object God, it's all good. That's the story of Yusuf. You see this crazy, prison, being accosted by a crazy band of women that are trying to, it's just, brothers throwing you in the well, you become the ruler of a realm. You just it kind of seems a little roundabout. Right? But the object here ultimately is God's greatness. And Yusuf is aware of that from the beginning. I'm going to show you my greatness, you just wait. So anyway, I think the overall kind of advice that he would probably say, but nothing's coming to my mind as a sort of a line. It's just an overall. Is the idea that I need to understand why I was created. I need to understand for whom I was created. I need to understand who I belong to. And I need to understand what my role is with the one who owns me. And I need to understand what the role of other people who are also in life, what they are playing with Him with regard to me. Because as long as my goal is God, I'm good. It doesn't matter what happens after that. And as long as my goal is not God, it doesn't matter what happens to me. Right? So I think that's the object, that you look towards you keep your eye on the prize. It's easy to forgive people, and I say it like that to say, it's easy to forgive people who are helping you. If someone harms you in such a way that makes you know God in a way you didn't know before, because that's where you went when you got harmed, you should thank them. But if someone benefited you in such a way that makes you forget about God, I'm not going to say you should curse them, but so the people of Allah, they have a lot of enemies. You see that. Allah's people have a lot of, you'll never find someone who is a friend of Allah that doesn't have a lot of enemies. And those people are there to help that person get to his goal, or her to get to her goal. It's part of the process. That's just how it is. It's the sunnah of Allah, and you'll never find a change in the sunnah of Allah. If I told you the story about Shaykh Ibrahim himself, what happened to him in his life, you'd be amazed. We have a brother in the audience. He can tell you, his family, the whole story is there. This is all real. These are Allah's people, And harm is part of the package. But in the end, they triumph, man. If that's some weird sort of monologue, sorry about that.
Can I add to?
Yes.
I think from what I'm reflecting, and also what you taught as well, that the way that Yusuf alayhi salam was so forgiving may have not been perfection, and he had to go through a journey where he had to balance the Jamal that he had and have some Jalal so he can go towards Kamal. So, and then you see that actually the love that he had for his brothers, he actually wanted his brothers to see what they've done. So Yusuf himself was also going on a journey to balance the different parts of himself.
Yeah.
Can I
That's really very, very,
Can I come in on that?
Please.
Sorry. Something that I just see with my clients is that forgiveness brings peace. Otherwise, it's an open, festering wound, which actually where you suffer. So, if you say, for example, you are angry with someone, and it's been years and years and years and years, and you don't move towards forgiveness, you're suffering.
Yeah, yeah. You're the one who suffers.
Yes, you're the one who suffers.
Yeah.
You're the one who goes through it. You're the one who thinks about it, and it affects your life. So there is something around. There's peace in forgiveness as well.
So,
For yourself.
yeah. So, can I ask you, in terms of psychology, what is forgiveness?
Oh, that's quite heavy.
Oh, sorry.
I think it's a reconciliation with the self.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is,
experience
okay.
With yourself and the experience. I think if you want to bring God into it, Allah does say in the Qur'an that it's better to forgive.
Yeah.
So understanding what that means and putting that into your life perspective.
Yeah.
That's how I see it. I have to give it some more thought though.
Yeah. That might be a different session for a different time. Yeah. Thank you. Go ahead. Is it you?
Yeah, you mentioned about the brothers being prophets.
Yeah.
And you said about the lower nafs.
Yes.
Prophets don't have lower nafs.
Yeah.
That wasn't what they were doing.
Pretty low.
And
Yeah.
self-interested.
Yeah. So I've thought about this, and it's true. They are prophets, and I've thought about that, and I'm like, I think the difference is kind of simple. I think that Allah was using them to do certain things, but I don't think that they had the same kind of premeditated sort of like. I think that their intentions were different. I don't think it was the same as like other people. I can't vouch. I can only speculate. I can only speculate and say, well, it looked pretty criminal. But when it comes to the prophets, I don't know. We don't know like what's going on with them, other than their intentions are different. They have a different kind of niyyah than other people. Then you get into like, for example, Khidr. Khidr killed a child. That doesn't seem very like. It's not really what you would do like on Eid day, for example. So there's more to it than that, isn't it? Yeah, there's more to it than that. The way Allah is using His slaves it's about that, I think. But that's a good question. I've thought about the same things, by the way. Go on.
You said before that people of Allah, they never fear or grieve, but then looking at Sayyidina Yaqub, who obviously said how intense his grief was,
Yeah.
but throughout the whole journey, didn't really stop. Could you speak more on that?
You said that. So did I say that the awliya?
Just say that.
Yeah, the Qur'an even says that. Awliya'ullahi la khawfun alayhim wa la hum yahzanun. It doesn't mean that they're not human. It doesn't mean that they're not human. It just means that their conciliation, the ice for their fever is God Himself, not anything else. And they do find that in Him. They do turn towards Him, and that's what you see with Yaqub's story. You see him. He's like, you guys are tripping, but you know what? Alhamdulillah, I have Allah. And that's where he found. It doesn't mean he doesn't, because it's actually the beauty that he sees in Yusuf. It's not Yusuf's beauty that he sees. He sees Allah's Jamal in Yusuf. It's God's beauty in Yusuf that he sees. He has that vision that he's looking at, and it's that what he's attached to. But as she was mentioning, to have perfection, you have to have Jalal also. That's what's going on. Like, if my journey to God, if this whole life is about God, Abdul Latif, then shouldn't it be just amazing and beautiful? Because God is love. And it's like, that's very self-serving. If I have everything the way I want it to be, who's the servant and who's the slave? No, it doesn't work like that. So the things that I don't like, I don't understand, etc., that's the balance. And certainly Yaqub had to deal with that. It doesn't mean he was happy about it. But his grief was not a grief of despair. He didn't despair. He he was sad, but he didn't, he didn't want to kill himself. You know what I mean? He was just deeply sad. Yes. Isn't this like the best part?
I've got a question.
Yeah.
When did the Prophet start for Yusuf? In the well? Was it in prison? And when did his brothers Prophet start? And was them trying to get rid of Yusuf so that they could become the prophets?
It's like prophet wars.
Yeah.
No. So if you recall, in the first session, he became Jibril appeared to him in the well. As far as like when did the others become prophets, I don't know. He doesn't mention it in this tafsir. I'm not sure. And as far as like prophet wars, I mean, I don't know. I'm not really one of them. So I know you have wali wars. You definitely have wali wars, like the awliya, like wali wars, which that's another session for a different day.
I just had a question. I think I missed this part. Who did Yusuf alayhi salam marry?
Her name's not coming to me, but in the end, he also marries. I can't tell you. Part 3. To be continued. I can't do it. Alhamdulillah. Let's take maybe one more question or comments or however you'd like to do. Yes.
This is a bit tricky. Einstein said something like madness is doing the same thing and expecting different results.
Sure.
Thing. So I wonder, as we're all humans, we all face challenges and difficulties. So if you follow your faith and try and make a new Muslim, but things are not working out, and you go through a lot of difficulties, I imagine. When do you know that there is something that you need to change, or whether it's just fact of life, essentially?
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah. Her question is basically, how do you know when you need to stop? Basically, and like how do you know when you're supposed to stop? Because ultimately, if you keep trying to do the same thing over and over again, it doesn't give good results. How do you know when to stop? So, but can I ask you another question for clarification? What made you ask this question? No, I mean, not personally, that's you. I'm just saying, like, in terms of, like, what made you...
But I'm a new Muslim.
Okay.
This is all a bit new.
Welcome.
I'm relatively new too.
Welcome.
Thank you. So yes, I just...
Okay, this is just a general advice. Yeah, general advice and the Islamic...
Let's say so.
What's the Islamic answer?
Ambiguous.
Yeah. Okay. In my personal experience, I've been a Muslim for, I don't want to tell you. It's been a certain period of time has passed. There was no internet at the time when I became a Muslim. Roundabout, okay? I've been Muslim longer than some people in this room have been alive. I've been Muslim longer than I wasn't a Muslim. And that's as far as I'm going to tell you in terms of the exact age. But I think this. I think that when you have made your intentions to do something, you should try to do something. You know, إذا عزمت فتوكل على الله. When you have resolved. Thank you. When you've resolved to do something, then put your trust in God. That's what the Qur'an tells you to do. When you have made up your mind to do something, as long as it's permissible, then just try. For me, what I see in that and what I've tried to do in my own life and what I've seen from my teachers, what they do and what they've advised me as well, try to do something. Try in each way that you can. Before you even do it, there's something called tafweed. Tafweed. أفوض أمري إلى الله. I resign my affair to God. Before you decide to do anything, try in your mind and your heart to say, you know what? You know best. I'm gonna give this to you. Whatever the outcome is, I'm okay with that. Then you do your necessary preparations, right? That's called tawakkul. Now you do the thing. I want to do this, I want to do that. I do my research, I have prepared, Then you set out. Then you go towards the thing. knowing that whatever is going to happen with that thing, you know what, Allah, you know best what to do with me. Then you continue to do that thing and you try all of the ways that you can, because that's your part. And then once you've exhausted everything, wherever you find yourself, that's where you're supposed to be. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Wherever you find yourself, once you've tried all of that, that's where you're supposed to be. Even if it looks crazy to you. Just trust God. Because the ball's still rolling, and you'll be surprised. I am also old enough to tell you that there are so many situations that I've been in where I've just been like, dude, what is happening? Oh, I'm going to write a book. I got stories. There's so many situations where I've just been like, what is happening? What's going on? And now I look back and I go, SubhanAllah, that makes so much sense. At the time, madness. Mad. Completely mad. What am I doing? I got to get out of here. Where's the eject button? Someone save me. Quick, help. When I look back now, I'm just like, oh man. If I had moved, there's a place right now that's like it seems like the entire world has left it because it's being bombed. Like I was actually pushed at some point in my life to move there, a certain country in the Middle East. And I just was like, I don't know. I didn't do it. And now everyone's coming back. You know what I mean? And if anyone here is dealing with that, I'm not making fun of that. I'm not saying that, better you than me. I'm just saying, that was good for you as well. 1 minute, okay. Bottom line, here's what I want to say to you. I hope that you make it to part 3, the grand finale. And if you do not, I would like you to take away from this, whatever's coming to my heart is the final thing. If you feel that your life is crazy, what I would like to ask you is, okay, but who have you made your life for? If you have made your life for Allah, because at the end of the day, He's the one who puts the quenching in the water. He's the one who puts the air, the oxygen in the air. He's the one who causes the blood to flow through your veins. Everything you want is with Him. What else would you want? Honestly. Be a good business person. Good business people, they don't deal with a middleman. They go straight to wholesale. That's just a sound mind. If you're having problems and trouble in your life and you don't really understand what's going on, I would first like to ask you, what is your intention with your life? If your life is for Allah and you've made that intention, I would say to you, just hold on, be patient. Allah will never forsake you. If your life is for other than Allah, I would say to you, think about your course and think about what you're headed towards and what you're working for, and realize that it can never help you and it can never harm you, no matter how good it looks. Either way, may Allah give us Allah. May Allah give us Allah. May Allah give us Allah. There is no greater ambition. There is no greater object. There is no greater ilah than Allah. Jazakallah khair. And until next time, Subhana rabbika rabbil izzati amma yasifun, wa salamun ala al-mursaleen, walhamdulillahi rabbil alameen. Assalamu alaikum. Shukran.